All right, and here on our news from Times Tabloid, it says here investor Oscar Ramos says XRP to explode by July 4 based on this White House timeline. Right? Imagine the United States celebrating Independence Day this year with more than just fireworks and parades. Imagine a world where the fog of war and the crypto market finally clears, replaced by a legal framework that opens the floodgates for trillions of dollars. Right now, the XRP army is pointing its collective gaze directly at the White House. There is a buzz on X that is impossible to ignore. We aren't talking about rumors from random accounts. We are talking about a timeline directly linked to Patrick Witt and a bold prediction from investor Oscar Ramos. Is July 4th really going to be the Independence Day for us XRP holders? So let's dive into the Washington's latest move has everyone on the edge of their seats. Right? So let's start with our very first question. Is the White House aiming for a crypto Independence Day this July 4th? The spark for this latest fire started when the media outlet Watcher.Guru dropped a bombshell post. They quoted Patrick Witt, the executive director of the President's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. Witt stated that the White House is officially aiming to pass the Clarity Act by July 4th. This is a massive shift because Witt is the guy responsible for shaping policy recommendations for the president. This isn't a new bill that just appeared. The Clarity Act passed the House way back in July 2025 and just cleared the Senate Banking Committee this May 14th, 2026. Now, the goal is a full Senate floor vote this month, this June 2026. So in my opinion, I see this as a high-stakes game of political chess. By setting a July 4th deadline, the administration is trying to claim a win for financial innovation right before the summer break. So to me, this isn't just about a holiday. It's about a deadline that forces the Senate Act. If they meet this timeline, the uncertainty that has been a weight around XRP's neck for years could cut loose in just a few weeks. Now, why does Oscar Ramos think XRP will explode based on this timeline? Immediately after the White House update hit the feeds, investor Oscar Ramos took to X with a very clear message. XRP to explode by July 4th. He isn't just pulling a date out of a hat. He is connecting the dots between the White House legal timeline and the massive amount of institutional capital waiting on the sidelines. The theory is simple. The Clarity Act defines the boundaries between agencies and classifies digital assets once and for all. If XRP is officially recognized under this framework, the risk of holding it disappears for big banks. So in my opinion, I think Oscar Ramos is tapping into the psychological ignition of the market. In my view, the market loves deadline. When you have a firm date like July 4th, it creates a sense of urgency. Even if the price doesn't hit a new all-time high in a single day, the expectation of the law passing can cause a preemptive surge in buying. As a market observer, I have noticed that the anticipation of good news is often just as powerful as the news itself. So, the next question is this a short-term price spike or a long-term utility? Not everyone on X is convinced that July 4th will be a moon mission. Users here like Kratos PS2 have sparked a massive debate by saying that XRP won't truly move until the utility kicks in. They argue that legislative milestones are just noise and that the real price action comes from banks actually moving trillions on the ledger. Others, like Just Pill right here, are even more cautious. They pointed out that if the law passes by July 4th, the actual implementation could take anywhere from 9 months to a year and a half. So, in my opinion, I actually see both sides right here, where I agree that long-term utility is the fuel. I think these skeptics are missing the power of market psychology. Investors don't wait for the 18-month implementation to finish before they buy. They buy the moment they know the law is a done deal. So my take is that the passage of the act is the catalyst that changes the sentiment from fear to FOMO, regardless of how long the paper takes to be filed. All right. Now, what happens if the Senate misses the June floor vote? The pressure is now on Senate. We are halfway through June 2026, and the target window for the full floor vote is right now. If the Senate misses this window, the July 4th timeline becomes much harder to hit. This is why the XRP army is watching the Senate calendar closer than the actual price charts today. So if the Senate drags its feet, I expect a bit of a cool down in the market sentiment. However, as a market observer, I believe the momentum behind the Clarity Act is too strong to stop now. It has bipartisan support and the White House is publicly backing it. So to me, even a small delay wouldn't kill the rally. It would just move the goal post. But if they hit that July 4th target, that's when the firework really starts. Right? Now, as an overall conclusion, the situation is clear. The White House has set the clock, and the Senate is in the hot seat. Whether we see an explosion exactly on July 4th or a steady climb as the legal barriers fall, the direction is undeniable. We are moving away from the era of lawsuits and moving into the era of law. Oscar Ramos's prediction right here has set the stage for one of the most exciting months in crypto history. As a market observer, my eyes are on Washington. The Clarity Act is the key, and July 4th is the lock. So we need to stay tuned, stay informed, and let's see if this Independence Day brings the freedom that XRP army has been fighting for. And this finally ends our video. Thank you very much for watching, and you might just as well watch this next recommended video right here.